Hey, Dudes and Dudettes, Mr. Theorist here. It's been a while since I've done anything like this. Hi, hey, what is this video? It's got nothing to do with this, don't worry. That's something totally unrelated, future stuff. Some of you who may find me around or maybe follow me on Facebook or whatever, may know that I did some TikToks a while ago. I will go back to doing them. They are political TikToks, and some of you may have seen it, some of you may not. I posted some, I think, on the channel as well recently. This video is kind of going to be about that. First, a little catch up, say hi, and start off a bit light. You've probably seen the podcast I've done with my friend Draven. It's been awesome and fun, and they will continue when we can both get some time together. I'm a dad now. I've said it a few times on my podcast, but hey, yes, I'm now a father. I'm really happy. He is going to be 9 months in very soon. Yeah, awesome. So that's really, really awesome, and will contribute to even probably less content on the channel at the moment, at least until my little one's more viable, self able to be around himself more, probably a couple of years or something. But I'm trying to still keep content going, and the thing behind me that will be done, it's gonna happen slowly, and it's gonna be in parts, but it's fun. You might get a glimpse of it. It's awesome, it's cool. I look forward to doing that with you guys, and I can't wait. It's a theory that I've been working on for very, very, very long time. It's going to be a year and a half since before, basically, just as my other half got pregnant, basically. It was something that kept me occupied during that time, and yeah, I look forward to sharing that with you all. So that's life. Life is a personal thing for me personally. Some happy times. Obviously, if you exist in the world right now, you know that there is lots of stuff going around globally. Obviously, last year and a half, everyone had to start properly recovering from COVID and everything. But now the biggest thing, after everyone had their fun times about whether or not we're going to be invaded by aliens, that was fun. We ended up with stuff happening in the Middle East now that's not even going to go there at this point. It'd be an interesting thing to discuss, and if anyone wants to ever come on a video with me and maybe have discussions with it themselves and talk about the state of the world in general, I would love to do that. Just stick it in the comments if you want to. That'd be fun. But yeah, that's kind of depressing. Very, very depressing. Which probably isn't helping anyone's mental health right now. Mine excessively. And I live in Britain, and Britain has been in bits for a while. We had Brexit, which, depending on where you sit with it, it's not really gone well regardless. Then we've had 5 different prime ministers because the Conservative Party keeps squabbling over what is their plan of action, while the Labour Party just stands there and goes, "We are the People's Party," and they're like, "Yeah, what do you stand for?" Everything? Which is working out, which means it's good. It's giving us a party that we, as a country, can maybe stand behind, because we've realised how, as a country, I think we're all beginning to globally understand how stupid and chaotic the Sorry. Very loud. I'll turn this down a bit. I'm very sorry, that popped a bit there. Okay, that's better. How friggin' insane the Tory party is, and instead of them getting a clue, they seem to be going even further. Obviously, if you're someone who still agrees with the Conservative Party, I'm not trying to wind you up, okay? The Conservative Party is a Conservative Party, and politically, if you're politically savvy at all, you'll understand the Tories are kind of screwed at this point. If you're still following them, fair. You do you, boo. I won't argue with you, because arguing with someone who still follows the Tories at this point, it would be pointless to have a discussion with them. and try and feel that you could find common ground. Because if you can't find common ground with the Tory party this chaotic, I guess we're just on opposite sides of the political spectrum. And I love you as a human, because at the end of the day, we're all human beings and everyone's life matters. But politically, okay, whatever. Right, you stay where you are, I'll stay where I am. We'll get on talking about football or movies or something on a general basis. So yeah, the Tories are completely gone, and we should talk about this. Like, this is one of the main reasons I decided to do this video. Is obviously, if you're someone who still supports them, it'll be interesting, I think, for you to listen to this video to try and make sure you grasp all the kind of information that what I'll try and even do is I'll try and make sure that I'll even show the screen and try and get you like the information if I can. And we can just kind of talk about the situation in Britain right now. Is we're on I believe it's our 5th Prime Minister. So it's our 4th, isn't it? Like if you would count like the last time Corbyn lost, Johnson. Oh, there's only 3: Johnson, Liz, Sunak. But since it's like just those 3 though, since that election, we've had two. And Liz Truss had no mandate. Fair enough. Like, the Tories can switch leaders. Politically, they're allowed to do that. It's in the way they are. It's the way the political system is. Nothing will change with, and it's not something that the Labour Party really squabbles over. So at the moment, it's fine. We won't discuss it for the second. We will if people want to, because politics as a whole. But yeah, like, so they can switch leaders, which we can argue about, but they can switch leaders. But then you would think that the leader, whatever leader it is, would follow the manifesto that they were voted in on. And Liz Truss did not do that. When she decided to give the higher earners in society a tax cut and not do this, like, during a time when the economy was insane. Like, we needed to input money in. We needed, like, taxes for the highest earners to kind of be risen, so the excess amount those companies have could be brought back into the system, so the system could then help the society that was crumbling currently, literally in the school sense. So she did that, no mandate. The market freaked out because it was even insane by their standards, and the market doesn't have the general public's mind. Like, that we are not who they think about. They think about the revenue of income coming into the system. Like, as an individual, unless you are giving excess amounts back into the system or like extravagantly expending over and over and over, the system doesn't really care, especially in the market sense. But even by their standards, like what Liz Truss was like, no, this is insane, stop this woman right now. And obviously it happened. She was seen to have an insane plan, and they got rid of her really quickly. They even basically broke the normal protocols that stop a leader from being voted in, like, before a year's out. Like, you're not meant to be able to do that, but they made sure it happened. And the insane thing is yes, technically you could say some people did vote for her, and a lot of what she said, she basically implemented really quickly and insanely and everything. And you could say the Tory party members voted her in, and therefore technically she was voted in with her talking about her policies. So, okay, if you want to be super pedantic about the fact that, okay, maybe if some people voted for her, she kind of was given the rights to do what she did. But in Sunak's case, not even the members were given the chance. Like, Sunak's now got no mandate from the country, not from his members, but just from the MPs who now have to listen to him. But he flip-flops on everything, and he doesn't seem to have a true understanding of what's going on in the country. And it's probably, and he's not reining in any of the crazies in his party. Like, unless you're someone who absolutely at the moment is not struggling with the cost of living crisis, and you aren't as compassionate to the fellow man as most of us are, which is fair enough. You can be who you are. At the end of the day, you're a human being. Surely, even someone to that degree who functions in a society with everyone else, listens to Suella Braverman right now when she's saying that homelessness is a choice and that she wants to stop charities from being able to give tents out to homelessness during the winter periods. Insane. I know the fact that, to be honest, like, we really should make sure the homeless are in our home over the winter, the same as we would look after old people during this time. Like, at the end of the day, COVID happened, we house the homeless. If we can do it during COVID, surely if we house them, get them into the system, get them working, therefore they don't have to house them because now they can earn their own home. Like, and that's even just the basic non-lefty kind of ideas. That's just how society functions. Like, I don't understand why homelessness is a thing, and insane that Suella Braverman thinks that people choose to be homeless. What? Like, that's crazy. And then she said something else that was quite... Oh, yeah. We weren't going to talk about the Middle East stuff, but... I have barely any understanding of the stuff happening in the Middle East. I have very vague stuff that, obviously, on my side of political aisle, I hear. But I am a little bit smart enough that I listen to a few debatey bro kind of people who they sit kind of on the fence and they like to argue with everyone, so they kind of catch all the factual information. So I've listened to a few of them, so I've heard some of the other stuff, and I know it's super complex. But even if you want to have it complex, there's stuff going on to do with the Gaza Strip, where that's mostly innocent population, that's mostly children. Genuinely, I can't see a justification from bombing them like they are, right? If you think that you have to be aggressive to stop the Hamas terrorist group after what Hamas did, okay. I personally don't agree, but okay, Israel feels the need to be as aggressive as they are. Sorry, I have to clarify. I do not agree with the way Israel is treating Palestine personally, but I'm a nobody. I'm just a rando on the internet that has a small following that people sometimes listen to me, okay? I don't want to alter people's political views. I would like people to go out and listen to the information themselves, to go out and research. I will admit I haven't done a lot of heavy research. But some of that is down to the stuff that I have heard so far. It's quite upsetting for me. So all I've done is kind of breezily gain stuff, and I have my views, but my views don't affect the world. And I don't want my views to affect other people. So, yeah, go out and do the research yourself. But as far as I can tell, and as I say, it's not much, but from what I can tell, with the amount of innocent people, especially children, in Gaza, yes, if there's terrorists, yes, if you feel you need to go and attack into the Gaza Strip to root out the terrorists, okay, go in. Go with soldiers. Have barricades up, like block streets or whatever with tanks and stuff. Like, show heavy aggression, but don't be heavy-handed to the point where I think the latest figures that we've seen, like the awful, terrible thing that Hamas did. The awful, terrible thing that Hamas did. Whether or not you agree, not even agree, like whether or not you sympathize with Hamas as the group or whatever, you cannot justify what happened. Like, the amount of people that died. Not even that, like the fact that innocent people did die, like, in itself, like, to me, that is worse enough, that innocent people die. So the amount that Hamas killed, that is still lower numbers than the amount of civilians that have been caught up with the bombing to try and destroy Hamas. I can't see a logical outcome to that. So, with everything I've just said, and I know that's been long-winded, and I know I extensively talked about before getting to my point, but I wanted to clarify, like, as I say, it's super complex out there. I have vague understandings, but from the vague understanding even I have, I listened to Suella Braverman say that the pro-Palestine marches that have been happening around the world, which they're not hate marches, because if they were, the police would arrest them. Like, the police have the power to do such a thing, I would assume anyway. Like, if you had hate groups literally going down the street chanting the annihilation of certain people, like, surely the police could do something about that. But the police didn't, obviously. But with numbers as they are, you could get small pockets of people who want to cause trouble, who are there because they see the numbers as maybe an idea that they can begin something to happen, right? So yes, there can be instigators in those groups. But for Suella Braverman, who is a cabinet minister, to say that they are hate marches and to say and to talk about them like they are literally trying to talk about the destruction of Israel and stuff, like to label these whole groups that included Jewish people who were also at these marches, like, that to me is insane. And the fact that Sunak isn't getting rid of her is insane. Like, there's been so much rhetoric that you can't keep up at times what's been said. Like, I know I'm only labelling the Tories, but at the moment the Tories in power, guarantee you, like, if Labour doesn't make our society better, I will be making videos like this as well, right? But that just seems insane to me that he's the third Prime Minister with no mandate. He's only put there by the party, so he's literally just a puppet leader, right? Because he's not there for our benefit. Like, you can clearly tell just by the way he's acting out and the policies he's producing, like, he's not there for us. He's a puppet leader for the rest of the party to do whatever the hell they like. That's generally, as me as an individual, that's how I see it. Because it's not that he's there for any grand reason. Like, he's already got the kind of clout he needs to do whatever he wants. Like, he's Silicon Valley kind of super rich dude. Like, and his wife's, like, super connected as well. So becoming Prime Minister isn't for his clout. It's not for the country, because has the country got better in the time he's been in? No. Are the policies, like, short-term or long-term going to be beneficial to the country? No. So he's not doing it for us. He's not doing it for himself. So he's just accepted the role because the party's put him there. He's a puppet leader. And so I think what I'm going to get at, and I want to start having a discussion with people, for a genuine discussion across Britain, and maybe you can talk to me about the rest of the politics around the world, and we can start having a genuine discussion as a collective, because it seems insane to me as a Brit, and Britain is still seen as a legitimate thing, even though we have, I'm going to say, literal corruption going on. You just listen to the COVID inquiry that's happening in Britain. Like, the kind of insanity that's coming out of that. And now we also have more information drop about these VIP lanes for the COVID contracts. And one person openly admitting that, yes, actually they did have direct connections to be able to profit from these companies, and the government knew. Like, obviously they're saying the government knew, so you have to take with a pinch of salt whether or not the government did know. But come on, let's use logic brains here. Let's take everything we've seen in the last 13 years as a whole, because that's how long the Tory party have held power. Like, even though we've had general elections, that's how long the Tory party have held power. They've never lost the election, so they've stayed in power. Everything for the past 13 years is down to them. Yes, they're external forces, but it's down to them. You take all of that information, you take everything that's been happening, and just the state of our country, and you're telling me that you don't believe someone who has now admitted that they're corrupt themselves, that the government is also corrupt and openly knew that they were connected to these contracts. No, I'm sorry. The government is corrupt 100%. I know some of us know it, but we need to keep saying it. We need to say it openly, and we need to remember that it's the Tory party that is corrupt. Labour is broken, and Labour needs to be fixed, right? Going to admit that. But the Tory party is corrupt. And until they can show us 100% that they are no longer corrupt, they should never ever be voted back into power. And that's not me as a lefty saying that. Like, come on, I want to connect with every human being. I don't care about my political views. I just want to connect on this level. that the Tories, the right wing of this country as a whole, do not care about the people. And if you are voting, surely you are voting for that reason. For the people. Even if it's just you and your family and friends, right? That's still the people. That is still everyone around us, right? We're trying to make this world a better place. Because if the world is a better place, we all thrive and prosper from it. And at the moment, the right of politics, Trump in America, Tories over here, some countries don't even get left and right. They just get dictators. We just get Putin and Kim Jong-un, if that's his right name. Like I don't even talk about those kind of things. But literally, it's insane. Okay, that you, me, people who generally watch YouTube, who just chill out and relax, talk about movies and stuff. Like, it's insane. We don't collectively... We're a massive group. We don't collectively come together and just be like, what the hell? And then we... I think what I'm getting at is, if you live in Britain right now and you're not angry, you're not upset, you're not broken by the Tories, I would like to know why. And if you are, would you stand up if we fight? Because I'm worried that even when Labour gets into power, that we're not going to see much change. And I don't mean, oh, we've got to wait for some money to get, we've got to like save, we've got to do the minimum amount, but we've got to save and get trust in the people so we can make some real decisions and make real choices in society. I know that's how democracy works. But from all I've seen so far, is if we let democracy have this, we have to be super slow about everything, to be methodical, like we have to, as in the left have to, then the right get in so quickly, because the people, the general public, do not seem to remember, feels almost like the word. Like, I've been really engaged in politics ever since Jeremy Corbyn, really, kind of era. That's really when I started getting engaged in politics. Like, I grew up, obviously, with Blair and all of that took place. So, I know I might be like, oh, Tories are bad, we should get Labour, like, but also listen to when I said, I don't think Labour's much better. Just, I think that, I said it in a TikTok and I'll say it on here. I think the only way this country can really move forward is if come this next election, people vote Labour in droves. I know even people who vote Labour like, oh no, we don't want to give them a massive mandate. No. I say give them the biggest mandate in the world. Give Labour the massivest mandate. I want the Tories to be winsy tiny little party. That's what I want. I want them to be a tiny party. Because if they're a tiny party, then they have been punished enough. Because you can't prosecute them. That's how it seems. You can't prosecute these people. So we should punish the party as a whole. Prevent future people from joining that kind of party. And instead, when Labour gains that mandate and Tories are basically gone, let Labour then shift themselves to the centre. Have the centre be where the two polars are. Like, the centre can be the right of politics, and then you can have a socialist party. Like, people like myself, I would go there. I would leave Labour. Like, I would stop screaming at Labour to change the ways, and I would just move to socialists. But we have a first past post system, and yeah, Labour says they're going to make a difference, and there's been talk about changing it over time. Skeptical at the moment, especially with the way that Starmer has been talking about the conflict in the Middle East in such blundery ways to begin with. It seemed very much like he was totally pro-Israel. It turned out he might not be. But it's so confusing, we don't know. And just with the fact that he expelled so much of the left from the Labour Labour Party. We don't know. Like, so I'm sceptical that he's ever going to do it. And so my plan to you guys is screw it. Vote Labour in droves. Or if you don't want to vote Labour, vote for a different party. If your area is not usually Labour or Tory, vote someone else if you want. Okay. Just, I want Labour with the biggest mandate and the Tories to be gone. Because when you just sit there and you allow members of your cabinet to go on TV and to spout such nonsense as protest marches are hate marches and that homelessness is a lifestyle choice. On top of the fact that I can't remember if it was which one of them, which Tory it was, but they were talking about like dreaming of, I think it might have even been Sweller. Was it Sweller? I can't remember. But thought about dreaming about sending flights to Rwanda. Like, I thought it was meant to be a deterrent, not a dream for the Tories. When the hell did policy become whatever the Tories dreamed? Like, what? I know this country is got some of those ancient hang-ups about the way people look, but I thought the 2000s were basically past most of this. Ugh, clearly not. I'm not even going to go into half of that. Like the trans debate and the fact that people get upset. People get upset and like uncomfortable over the trans stuff. Like, I'm sorry, but how long has plastic surgery been a thing? Like, how long have we been okay with someone literally changing the shape of their nose or their cheeks or like the boobs or whatever? Like, people change. People do what they do to feel most comfortable in society. And that's now one of the biggest things that as a society we're going to argue over. Because there's like really like real tough questions about if a man can transition into a woman, he's doing it because he's going to be a predator. What crazy world do people live in where they think that someone is so committed to doing something that they're going to literally change their entire body? They're going to commit. Because, hear me out, right? Unless you've got loads of money, in which case it feels more like a Barney bit to the most extreme darkening thing ever. But if you've got so much money that you're just, I'm not going to transition because I'm going to go and be predatory. Yeah. If that's the thing, then people getting scared of whether or not you're going to do that ain't really going to change matters. So you're going to be doing it the other way, right? You're going to be doing it the public way, right? I have a friend who did transition, who has transitioned, sorry. And I say did because I don't really talk to him anymore, but I remember I was friends with them during the time when they were transitioning. And they told me that for a year, you have to commit to the notion that you are the other gender before you are given all the alignment stuff that happens. Like, I don't even fully understand it, but I have a vague understanding. And so, okay, you've got to commit for a year? And that was a few years ago. I don't even know what the Tories have made them. I don't even know if the policy's changed since then, right? But that's what I know the policy was back then, right? So you have to, for a whole year, you have to commit to it. Right. So let's run with the notion that you believe this crazy notion that someone is a predator who's transitioning just for the notion to be a predator. You're so committed to going after certain people that you're committed to tricking a bunch of aspects of society that you're transitioning just so you can eventually transition to be the predator. Right. That's crazy. So that argument's gone out the window. Like, I'm sorry, if you can argue against that notion, I don't want to argue with you. What's the other one? They say that they're allowing. What is it? that kids are being taught about this stuff too early, and it's wrong, and it's like they're corrupting the youth. Okay, so maybe you are also arguing the predatory thing. We've already agreed that's insane. Okay, so maybe you're just someone who, I don't know if kids should really learn about these things. You know, they're innocent and everything. Sorry, I've got a baby, and yes, they're innocent in the way that they don't know how evil the world is. I ain't innocent. My kid knows how to wrap me around his little finger. Right, he knows how to do it. Anyway, so the idea that there are things that kids shouldn't learn about because it will break them. Like, unless you're being weird, as in like you're trying to, you know what I mean. You know the nonce thing, right? Unless you're trying to do that, right? In which case, we're not even going to discuss and argue any of that idea, right? So you're not trying to do that. You're just trying to teach kids about things of the world. You're trying to teach them that the whole point of society is that you get a job so you can pay your taxes and thrive in a society and pay for things that really should be free for you anyway. Is it corruptible to teach them that? Because I would teach my kid that. Does that mean I'm awful and corrupting my kid? Like, obviously I'm not going to teach him until he's like fully understanding about any of the words I just told him. Like, because there's no point in telling kids words and kids being like, huh? Kids don't know anything. The whole point is they're still learning. So the whole thing about kids not learning about trans, I think it's stupid, and they should. And going to drag things, I'm telling you now, if kids are being invited to go to drag things, it's because it's a kids-friendly drag. Like, society's not going to openly have people just like, oh yes, I'm going to be doing explicit plays, ha ha ha, and guess what? Kids invited too! Like, no one does that. No one! Like, come on! So, that's the main thing about trans. No need to argue it. And the fact that Sunak blocked Scotland from trans-affirming stuff, care? Dude, how right do you have to show yourself to be? Like, Jesus. I was trying to do a long, kind of peaceful, how you all doing kind of thing, but that lasted like 3 minutes before I went off on one. I'm so sorry, guys. This is just basically how I feel these days. Like, society has got so insane that I love doing, like, theory stuff, and I love watching movies, but what really gets, like, the adrenaline pumping and everything now is knowing the latest insane thing to go on. Because it feels almost like we're in the most realistic sitcom that would never be written. Like, oh yeah, like, there was a virus that hit Europe, and Britain saw it, and Britain just went, yeah, we should do something about that. Should we close borders? Nah, be fine. Be fine, don't worry about it. It's fine, no worries. Then the virus hit. Then Britain slowly told people to be safe. Okay. Then told people, oh, things are okay. Oh, wait, no, things are not okay. No, they're not. Go back inside. We think things are... Yeah, things are okay now. Things are okay. Just, media can't say anything about COVID, but everything's okay. Everything's okay. That sounds like a sitcom series in itself. Like, British government failing to lead during a pandemic. Like, that sounds crazy. And then, the other thing, before even any of that insane happened, was... Okay, so we're going to give you all a vote on whether or not we should stay with this group of people that do a bunch of things that are good, and there are some things that people discuss about, but they happen, right? You can either stay with them, in which case we can do our own stuff, or we can leave, right? And that's doing our own stuff. And it means we can do everything, right? We are the best country in the world, right? We are the best thing since sliced bread, right? Everyone's going to be our friend. We're going to be shaking hands with every world leader, right? They're going to be begging us to have trade deals with it. We are the best country ever. Oh, yeah, we had to, we started a trade deal with Australia, but, We offered them everything. Oh, no. We're still great. We're amazing, right? But Australia needed to be reassured that they're also the best. So we give them a really cool deal for their farmers. Oh, yeah, and you know when we said, like, being part of this trading bloc restricted us from doing stuff, right? And we should pioneer on our own because this trading bloc is restricting us. We're going to join this other trading bloc. It's not closer. It's further away. And it's not really beneficial, but we kind of look like losers without being... No. We are the best since sliced bread, right? We're the best thing ever. But we have to join another group so we can reassure all that other group that we are the best thing ever. Yeah? That... And do not tell me that is an exaggeration. That is literally how Brexit has gone. Like, regardless of whether or not you wanted Brexit to happen, that is how Brexit has gone. Right? And you guys were given the print of Brexit. And just to make sure... This is what cracks me up the most. Just to make sure that you guys were given free reign to get Brexit the way you guys wanted to get Brexit, you were given a massive majority to do whatever policy you wanted. Go on then. And okay, COVID happened, right? COVID happened. But while COVID was happening, they could have pushed other policies through. Because, I'm going to be honest, listening to the inquiry... What did they do during COVID? What did they do during COVID? Apart from party. That's what they literally did during COVID. So, oh, and also snogged their secretary, was it? While their wife was at home? Did special powder off a baking tray at one point? Basically implied that people should be immediately back to work during a time when the virus could still spread, and people were perfectly fine with working remotely. All truth, all factual. You can look all this up. Okay. I'm not exaggerating here. This is how it has been. This is Britain. Right? If you're someone who hasn't followed, who, I don't know, maybe tuned in to me and was like, oh, he's talking about Britain. Let's listen to how Britain was. Like, literally, that's how it's been for Britain. Like, our cousins, as you called across the pond, as they say, like the Americans, they had Trump, and I feel sorry for them. They had Trump. Like, during a time when everything was just crazy, they could have done with a leader that was strong and could lead and mobilize the country during COVID. During a time when racist things take place, where police officers overstep their mark, when they use too much excessive force and cause deaths of innocent people, which leads to massive ass protesting, which does excessive amounts of damage to your country. Probably because some of them genuinely wanted a seismic change, a revolution to take place. And let's be honest, who out there doesn't fantasize about the notion of a revolution right now? America, Britain, like France, I think, has been having massive protests over their pensions and stuff. Like, I wish the system would just listen to people instead of thinking themselves all high and friggin' mighty. I really wish the system would listen to the average Joe, to the average person who's going, look, you're not taking care of us. Stop thinking about your own profit margins for 5 friggin' minutes and think about the rest of us like we are human beings. Do I look like I'm not a human? Do you look like biologically different from the rest of us humans? No, we're all human beings. And yet for some reason, the people with power regard the rest of us like we're figures and numbers. And yet, we attack each other over them. Over the crappy policy that they put in place. That's why I at times I may look like I'm trying to walk a line. Because I don't want to... like, argue with the people on the other side of my politics. Because at the end of the day, you're just like me. Like, you are literally the same as I am. I wanted to do this video as a way to pour out, because I feel if I don't say a lot of this out loud, I might go insane. And being a father with a wicked child and a wicked partner, like, I don't want to go insane. I don't want to sit in a padded cell and watch TV because I'm not safe to be in society. Like, thoughts like that run through my head when the government treats me like I'm a freaking statistic. Like, my members of my family are statistics. Like, I will tell you another thing, guys. Another reason I wasn't making content for a while is I had a family member who passed away, who shouldn't have passed away. He was way too young to have passed away when he did. Right? But he did because no one was watching him. I know maybe me and my family could, but my family couldn't cope. None of us could. No one in my family knew how to cope with someone who had some serious difficulty with his mental health. It was really hard, even for the family member that actually did give him a place to stay so he can actually, like, get better, right? Even for him, it was insane. Society should have been available to house my relative and have someone to keep an eye on him. Someone who was specialised to keep an eye on someone like that. Like, the whole point of having an NHS and being, the 5th or 7th, whatever the number is, richest society in the world, is we shouldn't have homelessness. And I understand if it was a lifestyle choice for someone like Braverman to say, oh, it's a lifestyle choice. No, when you don't fund people properly, and when you overcharge for everything, and you allow your mates to overcharge for everything, homelessness happens. It's not a choice. It's not a choice for someone's rent to be risen by the landlord. What was the other thing they got rid of? No fault evictions, which means the landlords can kick them out for whatever reason. Even less of the choice. So how could it be a lifestyle choice when it's not even their choice when they get kicked out, when they can leave a property? And when I say this out loud, it sounds insane. It sounds like the thick of it. It sounds like someone writing a satirical show about British politics. But this is the state our country is in. And to get away with it, because the only people who are willing, who have enough clout to voice it out, are on their side. When Labour gets in, guarantee it will stop being, as everyone is kind of, oh, Labour, they're really going to do it. The Tories are screwed. The Tories are done for. Labour's going to win. As soon as Labour is in, they'll lambast Labour if Labour doesn't toe the centralist line that they're currently towing. And that is the state of our country. And I'm not the first generation to have this shite system work against them. The millennials are not the first. Gen Z are not the first. Gen X aren't the first. Boomers aren't the first. Like, this has been systematic for a long, long time. And yet, we sit here and we let it happen. Why? For what friggin' reason do we let it happen? Because they've convinced enough of us that me, someone on the left, is someone on the right's problem. And why? Why should I be the problem with someone who has a different political opinion to me? An opinion is an opinion. I like Batman vs Superman. Other people don't like Batman vs Superman. I really like... I remember back in the day when I was at school and it was, I'm a PS2 boy. I'm an Xbox boy. That's an opinion. People can have them. It doesn't mean we argue over it. We don't have to argue over it. If our politics was just about making the world better, if it was just, right, the focus is to make the country a better place. Right? People, at the end of the day, yeah, we could have a discussion on what is better. But if you do something that is detrimental to a group of people and only helps a selective small group of others, that's negative for society. It is. Obviously, There could be some really grey area moments where that is possible. Just thinking off the top of my head, because I don't want to seem like I want to stop anything that only helps a small minority of people. Like, if it's helping a group of people who have been ostracized by society for some arbitrary argument or whatever, and so for what is left of a group, or only a small group of them, is given something, like, obviously in that situation, yes, it is better, but I don't think in that situation society would be detrimental by the thing being done. But if we don't raise the tax thresholds of society, so when you hit a certain percentage, you're no longer taxed a high amount. That's how it currently is. That should be changed. And yet, for some reason, it's argued at times like that's an arguable discussion to be having. Like, oh no, you can't do that. You can't raise it even higher. What would that do? That would de-incentivize people. Oh, so if you raise it another, I don't know, 5-10%, you're saying these people would start off. Okay, then what you do is, we live in an age of social media. You want to start off out of a country because the country's asked you that, yeah, you got loads of profits. We would like you to pay some of them back. And you go, no, and start off. Okay, there's a thing called X. I was going to say Twitter, but it's now X. There's a thing called Facebook. There's a thing called YouTube. A thing called Instagram. TikTok. Like, okay, then we'll just get whoever we can to just blast all over that you've sodded off out of a country because of that reason. I don't see a problem with doing that. If a country can just leave because they're upset with a tax threshold while they've earned loads of money. Like, obviously, there could be an argument that if a company has not done well at all during a period, that I think they could argue to not have their taxes risen for an amount of time, but you have to show the proper reason why you've not gained enough profit. Like, at the end of the day, if you're an owner of a business and you've not gained profits because, like, you're paying everyone a minimum wage and you're forking out for materials and the materials aren't overly expensive, and you're just annoyed that, why can't I pay people less because I'm not getting a profit? Like, no, I'm sorry. Tough. Like, and what was it? It was Liz Truss, wasn't it? Who said she doesn't like the fact that profit has become an ugly word. I think the quote was, I think it was ugly word. It's been made into an ugly word because we were all sold the lie that society was now at a point where we're all amazing. Like, everyone is equal. Everyone has the equalist opportunity to begin at life, and as long as you give it a go, you'll thrive. Now, speaking for someone who has given it a go, who does really try at times, I friggin' struggle. Like, and I wasn't annoyed that I wasn't given more in life or whatever. I wasn't. Like, but I have struggled at times, and I was lucky to be given that my family has supported me at times, that I've been given like little things, but I've been given a house I could stay at times, or like a bit of money to help me out here and there. Like, that kind of thing has happened. But there are people who don't have that, and yet there are others who have it in spades, and normally they are the ones that argue that no, they're being taxed too much, that they're losing out on too much money. I'm sorry, you can have that argument when everyone has the same starts off in the same degree, but when we have a different school system where we have one for people who don't pay for their education and one that does, and the one that people do pay for their education has a much higher percentage of getting somewhere in society because society is just catered in that way, well, then you have an inequality. You then have a problem. And therefore, we can't have arbitrary arguments like, you can't raise taxes, it's not fair on us. Obviously, if you're lower end of the spectrum and you're trying to argue your taxes being risen too much, probably is an argument to be had for. And that is why government has to be super functional, why government has to have shite tons of civil servants, so that when there are arbitrary times when someone can argue against a government policy that to the average Joe is an unfair policy, it can be dealt with. It's why the court system needs to be run efficiently. Like, the reason we are in the state we're in is because the Tories implemented austerity. Austerity was not necessary. Our country was functioning at the point when they were left. All the Tories had to do was keep the status quo. That's all they had to do. And we would have prospered. We would have done. But instead, what they did is they wanted to make sure that the state was shrunk and that public money was not being funneled into unnecessary projects, they would call them. Well, now our transportation doesn't work correctly. Now our NHS doesn't work correctly. Now our education doesn't work correctly. Like, so-called arbitrary things that needed to be cut because of during austerity hasn't worked. Oh, and now because austerity was not fairly implemented, teachers, nurses, doctors, people who have now got pay, who efficiently are behind on the pay because of the fact they had a pay freeze, because they were heroes who took the pay freeze because society needed them to. Well, now they need society to help them out. No, it's not fair. Society, like, it's not right that people are asking for pay rises now, because that's not right. But you asked them to take the freeze. You implemented the freeze on them. Like, once you start discussing it, once you bring it all together, you look at it, that's the whole thing. You see how nuts it is, and how when the election comes next year, because it's going to be next year, it has to be next year. Like, no way they're going to drag it to January. If they drag it to January, the Tories are done. The Tories they've got to be done at that point, because it means that they weren't even honourable enough to have an election before they were forced out. That's crazy. So there'll be an election, and we must have the Tories be punished for it. Really, really punished for it. And then also what we need is people to be engaged. From now on, if you sit down with someone, just chat generally about politics. Because I think that's been the problem, is people's not wanted to talk about politics because politics is polarising. It doesn't have to be polarising. Right? You can sit down, you can have a discussion. I have colleagues who are on the opposite side of the aisle to me. I'll still have a beer with them if they ask me to go out with them. Because that's how the world is. Because the more we discuss about it, the more we have the casual, drunken debates that are non-violent, then we actually will do better. Our parties won't be able to manipulate us with the narrative they try and spout out. Because if you're someone who watches mainstream media, you will notice most mainstream media does not push people when they give information. Like, I would say sometimes on the left they might do, but overall, if you're a Labour or a Tory or whatever, like, unless the establishment absolutely doesn't want whatever you're saying to be said, you can say what you say, and then they might push you a little bit, but as long as you reinforce it with some other kind of gobbly bleh, then it doesn't matter. Or maybe it is a bit factual, but because that's how the media is, because it doesn't really challenge, you don't know when something is really true and when it's not. What was it that woman in America said? Alternative facts. I think I heard someone recently say that was the moment when our society basically, you could argue, basically failed. Because we now believe that idea. There are genuine people who think that there are a difference between a factual piece of information and something that could be counted as a other factual piece of information, even though they counteract each other. Our society. I had hopes. Millennials, Gen Zers, I do have kind of hopes for us that we won't repeat the mistakes that prior generations have. But at the moment, it's looking more like a bunch of them don't care. We've all just become so disenfranchised that unless it's utopian now, unless it's basically Jeremy Corbyn, then it's like, nope, not having it. But then you could argue that the way Storm has been recently, that the Labour Party doesn't deserve to be voted in. think my honest take would be we don't vote for any of them. We just walk out, go to the streets as a collective, and stand outside Parliament. No, not Parliament. Yeah, Parliament. It is Parliament, isn't it? Yeah, it's outside Parliament, and just don't move. What are we gonna do? We're gonna arrest everyone? That'll be insane. We'll be peaceful protesting, and I'm not saying anyone does anything. We'll just stand there. Bring your snacks. Everyone bring lunch. Some mamas out there, you bring more. You like to take care of people like this, so bring some extra food. That'll be it. We'll just stand outside Parliament until they change, because if we've got to wait another year, what state is our country going to be in by then? Because no one can hold them to account. At best, they do absolutely nothing. And our schools crumble. Unless they fix that now. I don't even know if they have. It's not even talked in the news, so. But they do nothing. And society stays broken until the Labour come in. At worst, they attempt to implement some policies, and because they've got a high majority, they technically, I guess they could. Theoretically they could, but they probably won't. So probably more likely we'll just have nothing happens. And then we'll look forward a bit. And we have to wait a whole year of nothing happening. And then Labour gets in. And Labour now has the ultimate excuse for things not to get better for a whole decade. Unless we give them the biggest majority and we hold them to account in that way. Well, you got a massive majority, you knew what you like now. And then maybe the veil will be dropped. If we can vote them in and then they still do nothing, we give them a high majority and the society does not improve from it. Maybe we can drop the veil for those people that still argue that what I'm saying is insane. And maybe you've watched this video and thought, wow, this guy's a bit nuts. He's a bit angry, isn't he? I ain't angry. I'm sad. I'm broken. I've had enough. I'm bored. If it wasn't for the little tiny one coming into my life, I don't know. But let's end on a high note. I can't do it. Media theory. Media theory is going to be something awesome that you guys are going to see on my channel soon. So, stay there and there. Stay together. Wait for my content. If you guys want to chat, put in the comments. I don't mind. I'll start up a Discord and I'll start chats and discussions and stuff. Maybe we can find other people and we can start discussing things, because I think if I have other people I can have these kind of discussions with. Because I have it with my friends and family and I'm driving them all insane. Because most of them know it, or they don't want to hear it. And fair play. It's really not healthy. But that's what they want. They want us to be broken. They want us to not engage, because then they can just say, well, we're taking a load off your mind by disengaging you with the politics of it all. And then the higher classes just control the narrative forevermore without even us pretending to have any kind of control over them. Because if we vote them into power and yet we can't get them out of power whenever we think they're not doing enough, what's the point of it all? Anyway, guys, I'll see you later. I said it was going to be a happy note, but that didn't happen. Well, did it? I'll see you in the next video. Bye.